Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I'm doing a review of all the Halloween films because I watch the Halloween films every year on Halloween. But this year I actually sat down and watched them properly because often I just sort of play them in the background because I'm so used to watching them. And then it just sort of made me want to talk about them. So I'm up to number 5. And I'm also realising how late it is and how tired I am. But I'm going to do all these in one go, because I'm feeling inspired. So Halloween 5, I realise it's a lot worse than I thought. I had sort of had Halloween 4 and Halloween 5 for the longest time. They were the only videos I had back in the day when I was a kid. And I didn't really see how bad Halloween 5 was. I just enjoyed the fact that it was a direct continuation of the fourth film. But a lot of it, I really can't stand Tina. I can't stand her friends. The only likeable character out of the ones that sort of get killed is the blonde girl, and you don't really see much of her. But the other characters are annoying as hell. Jamie is a mute for no reason, and all it does is waste a good child actor. Donald Pleasance is very aggressive and abusive. Not Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance, and that is because the director wanted him like that, and he would argue with the director for the longest time, but he ultimately gave up and just portrayed him, and he didn't come across that well in this film. The film takes up a year later, and we have two different beginnings. One where we see a young sort of warlock character who manages to bring Michael back from the dead, apparently. Apparently he died, and this guy brought him back from the dead. I think, so he's not supposed to have been in a coma for a whole year, or living with this guy for a year is supposedly dead and brought back to life. It doesn't really make sense. But they end up scrapping this beginning. Then they had another beginning where it's an older man who just finds Michael and apparently takes care of him for a year, where he just lies there and is like in a coma or something. It doesn't make a lot of sense. In either case, he wakes up on Halloween night and kills either guy, and Jamie sees it. And she's having like a seizure. Whenever something serious happens with Michael, like he kills someone, she sort of has a reaction to it. She sort of sees through his eyes, is aware of what he's doing, and has like a seizure. So she's in the hospital. The parents have gone out of town for the week because they don't want to be there. Rachel's supposed to go with them. She's got some friends, and originally she was supposed to have rebelled and sort of reacted to the trauma of the last film by becoming sort of like a bad teen and being very obnoxious and into rock music and fashion and just basically running around with guys, which basically they just turned into the Tina character, who's annoying as hell. And I'm glad that the actress who plays Rachel basically was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. And they sort of rewrote parts of the film for that. But they still kill her very early on, which is always such a negative thing for a fan of a horror film. When you survive a horror film with someone, the final girl, and they kill her off in the next film, it really undermines the other film and your first experience. So Michael, of course, continues to stalk Jamie even during the day and play tricks all over the place and kill all these people around her. And eventually, there's sort of two endings in a way. You have Michael coming for them, and they sort of get away. And then they sort of try and set up a trap for Michael. And then Dr. Loomis sends everyone away on a false goose chase so he can confront Michael alone and try and capture Michael using tranquilizers and a giant chain net and so forth. They do that, and then we have the sort of third ending, or the mysterious ending, where the man in black, who was introduced with absolutely no idea who he was. They said, we just need something mysterious to work into the next film. So they said, how about this? We have this mysterious man in black who comes to the town and walks around, and we don't know. He shares this new tattoo that Michael got on his arm. He's got the same tattoo, and what is this? And a lot of people thought there was some thought to this. There really wasn't. They didn't know who he was. So it's really disturbing when you watch it later and you realise, wow, that just means nothing, because that's how they created it. So this guy breaks Michael out of jail at the end, and Jamie and him both disappear, and that's sort of where the film ends. Now, production-wise, the guy who was directing it really didn't have a clue, and he kind of ruined the film. even though his style was good, the camera work and everything had a lot of flair to it. There was no atmosphere like we had in the first film, and unlikable characters. We have Jamie being a mute and being friends with a kid who stutters, he can barely speak. So it's hard to sort of emphasize with them and relate to them and sort of get involved in their story in a way. And the new characters are all tedious. They kill Rachel early on. And like you said, I really didn't care about these characters, and yeah, I didn't really care when they got killed. I did care about Jamie, of course. And there's a lot of disturbing scenes where she's being hunted, and some of the things you find out when they did the filming is sort of really shocking, like the scene in the car when the car is chasing her. Although they had a stunt person playing her for some scenes, other scenes where you see her in front of the camera and you see her from the front, it's really her running from the car, and the car's just chasing her. I thought, when I first saw it, I thought, particularly in the scene where it's running over all the little trees, and you see her run through and the car follow through. I always thought they had the car like on like a chain. They were dragging it at a certain speed, and there was some place where she could run, and they had like a pit or something, so if she fell over, the car couldn't run her over. I imagined this complicated way they would have filmed this where it was safe. None of that happened. They just got in a car and chased the actor or the stunt person down. And there was one moment where one of the actors actually fell in front of the car and nearly got run over. So I never realised how dangerous that was. And when Michael is attacking the laundry chute that Jamie's hiding in, and he's stabbing through it, and you see her legs and the knife coming through, they did that for real. They really stabbed through this thing with the actor just enough so it couldn't hurt them. Like, you'd never see stuff like that done today, especially with an actor who was like 10 years old. So it's really shocking when you watch the film back, knowing some of the stories of the production. But ultimately the film didn't do well. I think it certainly made less than Halloween 4. Because I think Halloween 4, I didn't even mention the box office. Halloween 4 made, I think, 18 million. So it was more than 3. And it cost 5 million, so it only cost a little bit more than 3. But made 17 million. 5, I think, made 14 million, but I think it cost more. No, it cost about 5.5 million, and it made 11 million. I think I'm thinking of Jason X, or one of the Friday the 13th films made 14 million. But yeah, so it made a lot less. People didn't get it, and I think the main issue was they didn't wait long enough. They sort of were like, let's strike while the iron's hot. The fourth film was hot, and everyone loved it, so let's have another film in the cinema for the next year. And they started filming without a finished script, and you know how that goes. And it just didn't work so well. People had barely had time to see or absorb the first film and to want a conclusion or another film when the next film was in the cinema. So it didn't do so well. So yeah, they should have just waited a year, spent more time with the story. They might have had time enough to realise, yeah, this is not going to work. And we wouldn't have had 6 years wait between the next film, which is Halloween 6, which, oh my God, the production for Halloween 6 is a nightmare as well, which also affects how you watch the film later. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I loved this film because it was a continuation, and I didn't see a lot of the flaws in it that I do now, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time pointing out because I don't want to be negative and just be one of those people who, when they do a review of a film and they put their critic hat on, they think that means they just have to pick it apart and find all the negatives and then complain about them. And there's a lot of arrogance with that, where it's just like, well, I'm smarter than the film, I'm smarter than the filmmakers, here's why, look at me prove how better I am than the art that I'm sort of deconstructing and demystifying and destroying. I hate that. So even though I'm just talking about my thoughts and what I felt about the film, if I was trying to do a proper review, I wouldn't go down that route. I studied criticism, film criticism, and I hated it. I hated the idea of it, that it's supposed to be attacking and destroying, and that's the only thing that sells and gets people's attention. And it's 9 minutes, I'm still talking. These are meant to be 5-minute videos, but they're all turning into 10-minute videos now. But, yep, I'm done. I do enjoy 5, some of it when I watch it, but less these days. When I was watching it, I was sort of like, yeah, this is not as good as I remember. And, yeah. I'm going to go. Bye.